thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up tonight, an Ackland's family who chose to stay on the island despite evacuation orders share their experience. Long Island experiencing rains and winds at this hour. Some residents on social media are asking why wasn't Long Island evacuated? Meanwhile, Chief Counsel of Long Island, Ian Knoll, says the island is prepared. Opposition leader Michael Pintard is slamming the Davis administration and the DRMA for its handling of the evacuation of residents in the southern and central Bahamas. Pintard had a busy day today. From the steps of the House of Assembly, the leader of the opposition announced that the FNM is moving ahead with Brian Brown in the Golden Isles. Why do I keep saying that? Golden Isles by-election. We have it all straight ahead for you this evening. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. We begin tonight with the evacuations of the islands of the southern and central Bahamas. While many residents stayed put, the majority on each island chose to leave the island, while a minority stayed put. One such family in Acklands is Anitha Pratt. Now, I'm happy to welcome Anitha here. Of course, she has power and is able to speak with us this evening. Good evening to you, Anitha. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Good evening, Shanique. Thank you for having me.
Yes, you look wonderful. It's good to see you looking great there in Acklands. What made you decide, after especially the order to evacuate was issued, you and your family decided to stay put?
Well, I did send my grandson, who's 11 years old. He did went on one of the flights that came into Acklands. My husband and myself, we stayed. I was getting information from Boxwind, and I was tracking the storm. I went through Hurricane Matthew here in Acklands, and I do realize that the intensity of the storm itself. While we were given the mandatory evacuation, when I tracked it, I realized that once it would have hit Acklands and Crooked Island, it will be down to a Category 2, right. Which is about 100 to 105 miles per hour. Mm-hmm. I am living in a newly constructed portion onto my house, which is about 7 feet above the ground. And it's a 2-story level. Now I know the storm surge could have gone up to 12, 15 feet. But after I tracked the storm, and then I also had a second alternative place up on Mackenzie Hill where I sheltered Hurricane Joaquin. Cousin friend of mine, the Baines, they gave me access to a small house up there where I took some of my products from my business, and also I had a lot of products here on the ground, and I had to protect my products. I didn't want to leave. Many of you may know the kind of business I'm into. I just didn't want to walk away, leave the products here, and come back and find either the building blew down or the products missing. So we opted to stay. Mm-hmm. We moved all of our vehicles, our boat, couple cars up on Mackenzie Hill, and we have a truck here. And I guaranteed my family, if the water came into the yard, and because I live opposite the sea, and we start to have surge, that we would evacuate and go to higher ground.
So you
Well,
felt comfortable.
thankfully, so
You
sorry.
felt comfortable that you had sufficient measures in place that would keep you and your husband safe.
Yes, ma'am, definitely. I wouldn't put my life nor my husband's life in harm's way, knowing that a storm was coming and we were not prepared. While I assisted being one of the heads of department here on Auckland's, I helped and assisted in getting individuals off the island into Nassau. And I opted to stay. There are about 190 plus of us here on the island of Auckland who did not evacuate, and primarily business owners, those who have restaurants or retail stores, establishment. Many of them stayed on the island of Auckland, one in Salina Point, a couple in Delectable Bay, and Masons Bay where I live, and up in the north. And Snug Corner, Henry, he stayed. Neil Williams stayed. The chief counsel is here. Several of the council members, they also stayed. One from in Salina Point, and one in the Masons Bay area, Ibells, Donald Ferguson. Okay. We stayed because we wouldn't be, like I said, we wouldn't put ourselves in harm's way. But we knew that if we had the necessary provision in place, it would have made more sense to stay here. Now, if it was a category 4 or 5, definitely I would have evacuated. Mm-hmm. But when I learned that it was down to 2, category 2, that we would have been able to withstand a category 2 storm here on the island of Auckland. I think what happened was everybody was listening to Jamaica. They saw what was happening in Jamaica.
Yes. Mm-hmm. You're right. Everyone got nervous.
That
yes.
really frightened people.
Oh, it was quite frightening. Of course, and it was the storm. Even a category 2 is nothing to dismiss or take lightly. But you're very right. I think people started being triggered because of what was happening in Jamaica, being triggered by what happened in the Bahamas as it relates to Dorian. And so people started wanting to, swarm the airports to get off whichever island it was. We know Mayor Guana had a time trying to get off that, many residents wanting to get off that island as quickly as possible, well into the evening yesterday. And so certainly, of course, you could understand that fear factor. But did Auckland's, or even, as you can say, we saw some weather, winds, and some downlines on Nagua today. They had some rain, some storms, some rough surf as well. Big waves are rolling in Nagua. Did Auckland's experience any sort of hurricane effects, like rain, like light flooding, winds?
Oh, yes, definitely. Even where I stay in Masons Bay, I can see from the road that there's flooding. We had strong winds. I heard on the other side of my place a lot of banging on the roof, and then I saw felt and shingles on the ground. So I know that there's some damage to the roof. I think over here we'll have a lot of roof damage to various homes, and some were leaking. We were trying to get some top over into Auckland's prior to the storm coming, but unfortunately, the person who wanted to bring those tops over here, they couldn't come. They had to follow the mandatory evacuation procedure, so he didn't come. So those tops didn't come to help some of those persons down in the Salina Point area, in my area. Mm-hmm. At one portion of my roof, I have a tarp too, and I believe all the banging and the noise we heard on that side of the house perhaps is the top beating against the roof and stuff like that. But as far as I know, we wouldn't know about the power lines because the water was shut off yesterday, and the light was shut off around about 9 this morning. So I am on generator, and I have Starlink. I was trying to raise some of the other individuals in the south, mm-hmm. but I don't know if they have generator or Starlink. So mm-hmm. I couldn't get them. There's one person in the north, Neil Williams. I spoke to him via Starlink.
Yes.
But we will know tomorrow. I also spoke to my people from the Ministry of Tourism because they were very concerned about me staying on the island of Auckland. And my upline boss, Edie Seymour, she asked me, "Are you sure you want to stay?" And I told her, "Yes, ma'am," because I know what I was facing. And 190 persons are here, more than 190. But I think with the evacuation, we need to be really proactive, and we have to make determinations based on the category of the storm before we put people into a frenzy and they panic. And it was crazy at the airport. It was
I know it was crazy because
man.
I saw images coming from Crooked Island, obviously Mayaguana, Inagua. It is said on social media in particular tonight that some Long Islanders are saying because of the winds and the rain that they should have been evacuated. And I'll tell you this, even though, and you're quite right, you're so right, but I'm also very cautious to say that with Mother Nature, a tropical storm is something you don't take lightly and dismiss, which is under 100 miles per hour winds. And so it's just obviously being prepared. Obviously, like you said, you have measures in place that if there were flooding and the winds had picked up somehow while you were chosen to remain there, you had other places you could have gone at elevated levels. And so people just need to have those measures in place, quite frankly, and also give heed and perhaps attention to make a sound decision on whether or not to evacuate if an order is given.
Well, Shanique, I will also say this. I served on the District Council of Acklands for 7 years. I've since retired from that. And I know from the time I was there up to now, we were talking about a shelter on the island, a strong, sturdy shelter built by successive government, the former government and this government. And I think what we should look at seriously, considering these storms are coming the way they are,
yes,
that even if persons don't have measures in place for their residents, that if there is a strong shelter, the amount of money we take to evacuate individuals from these islands, we could have built at least 10 shelters.
You're right.
And we need a shelter in Acklands, one in Mayaguana, one in Crooked Island, one in Agua, to house our people. And there is an event like what took place this weekend. I mean, this week, because I saw people driving past me when I got to the airport. I couldn't even almost find a parking space. The airport was full. And the first day, the first trip out, it was a little confusing. And I think by the second, third, the administrator, along with the team, heads of department and the district council, they kind of got their act together, and it went smoothly, and there was not really much, terms of people arguing and trying to get on the flight. In the beginning, it was, because everybody wanted to get out because of what they heard on the radio about the storm or on the television.
Right.
But after that, it ran smoothly. So I would say in Acklands, while there were hiccups, they were able to evacuate 316 persons out of Acklands, and we have another 190 here in Acklands who stayed. So they had several flights into Acklands. I don't think Acklands would have felt abandoned, and I don't know what happened on some of the other islands. I can't speak to that. But I do know that what took place in Acklands concerning the evacuation, for the most part, was smoothly done. I know Crooked Island, my second home over there, had some hiccups as well. But I think in the end, they were able to, I called myself, a couple people to find out what was going on in Crooked Island. And they were able to get Crooked Islanders out as well. It may have been late, but they got out.
Right.
As for the other islands, I can't speak to that. But I think it's just a matter of planning properly. That's really necessary.
Yes. Now, has the water been restored as yet or reconnected?
Oh, no, ma'am, because we don't have all clear. And the storm thing now is on its way down. And
Okay, her connection is kind of dipping in and out now.
The winds will really die down. So by 2 a.m. in the morning, we should be able to sleep comfortably, knowing that Melissa has passed and gone. So we give God thanks for that we are able to really be here. And I can speak to you live from my house here in Mason's Bay. You know, God has been good.
Yes, absolutely. We all can agree on that, certainly. Thank you so much, Anitha Pratt, who is live this evening from Acklins, from her home, speaking on one, choosing to stay, and it seems as though really those who have investments on the island, meaning business owners, have decided that they're going to stay and watch their investment, but of course have mitigation measures in place in the event that they needed to make a quick dash for higher ground. Those things were in place, and so it was a very well thought out and nothing that was a decision hastily made. I thank you so much, Anita Pratt. Thank you for speaking with me here on Beyond the Headlines. Happy that things are good in Acklins, good in Michael, with some strong winds here and there. We'll take a look at Long Island after this break. This is Beyond the Headlines. We come back with much more right after this.
Thank you, ma'am, for having me.
Welcome to Blissful Escapes, where luxury meets affordability. Whether you're seeking relief from aches and pains or simply looking to indulge in some well-deserved pampering, relax and detox in our infrared sauna. Enjoy a soothing Swedish massage or an invigorating exfoliating body scrub. We also provide advanced facial treatments using cutting-edge technology, including hydrofacial, microneedling, and microcurrent therapies, located at the shops of Cable Beach Plaza.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America is now City of Hope, creating one of the leading cancer care and research networks from coast to coast, providing more of what you need. More locations means more care closer to home. More specialists means more expertise. More research means more breakthroughs. More advancements means more treatment options. And more options means more hope. Call now to get more of the care you need.
Running out of space? We've got room for that. Welcome to Skyline Storage, your trusted self-storage solution. Skyline Storage offers units from 5x10 to 10x30, climate-controlled or standard dry. Perfect for home or business. Located in Westfield Commerce Park, Western New Providence. Your belongings stay safe with gated access and 24/7 surveillance starting at $175 a month. Reserve, pay, and move in online. No phone calls, no paperwork. Visit SkylineStorage.com. Skyline Storage. Storage made simple.
7.5 years, but I walk in here all of a sudden, total stranger. I'm calling you Rick and Sheila.
I win. At Island Lock, we take sports seriously. Get ready to experience the thrill of winning anytime and any place. Bet in real time and live the thrill of every play while watching your winnings stack up. It's your chance to score big with fast payouts and a world-class experience. Get in the game and bet the Bahamian way with Island Luck Sportsbook.
The race to 2026 is heating up, and the nation's voice is louder than ever. Here on Beyond the Headlines, we're checking the mood, the momentum, and the message of the people. I'm Shanique Miller. Each week, we're taking the temperature of the electorate to see what's really driving the nation. Who's connecting? Who's cooling off? What issues are heating up ahead of 2026? This is Temperature Check 2026, where journalism meets the nation's heartbeat.
Beyond the Headlines is now introducing powerful TV advertising opportunities made just for you. Choose our television ad package, 20 30-second ads for $2,000 or 20 60-second ads for $2,500 plus VAT. Prefer flexibility? Go a la carte. Just $150 for a 30-second ad or $200 for a 60-second ad. Step into the spotlight with our interview package. One 15-minute interview for $500 or 4 for $15 per month. Or bring Beyond the Headlines directly to you with our live on location package, only $2,600 plus VAT. For more information, contact our sales agent at 242-466-6173.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. It's good to have you tuned in. We're going to continue with storm coverage because, believe it or not, there is just a small cone really over now the central Bahamas and central islands where the storm is being felt. Take a look at this video. It's Long Island. This was captured around 7 or just before 7 and shared by the Basquin Weather Network. You heard the interview in Long Island refer to this weather network. As you can see, there is heavy rain, heavy winds, and what appears to be some flooding already. Now, this is Long Island just before the sunset. There are some residents of Long Island on social media all today, really, who felt that they too should have been evacuated as they're experiencing these kinds of effects right there from Hurricane Melissa, which is now a Category 2 storm. Hurricane Melissa is making its way through the central islands, and of course the southeastern islands escape with just winds. You heard Anita talk about in Acklands, for example, roof damage with loose shingles and perhaps a downed tree or so. Of course, nobody can do any assessments as yet because the all clear will come later sometime overnight. But residents say that, of course, they wished that they would have gotten maybe or given the option of evacuating. Something she said that's important, though, with all the evacuations, and mind you, there are times that's necessary, but it's also necessary that each island has a well-built, properly constructed community center / shelter. Yes. It's very, very important. That is important. Again, you're looking at videos from Long Island. This was Long Island just about an hour or so ago. By the way, this just came in during the break. Get this. A lady here in Nassau is very concerned for her sister in Long Island. Her sister is very frightened and on edge. She says her sister in Long Island is having such a hard time with this hurricane. They have been hammering on being hammered by this storm for over 5 hours. And it looks like they are still in the eye wall. Her house is leaking in the bedrooms, and she says she can hear the shingles ripping off the roof. This is terrible because they didn't forecast it to be so bad. Well, the wind started in the east, then the north. Now it's blowing from the west. Okay, so again, Bahamians, whether it's a tropical storm, if it's forecasted for our area, any islands, take it all seriously. A Category 2 storm may not be a 5, not even near it, and thanks be to God, but a Category 2 storm will pack the winds as well. Now, I hope that lady in her house, of course, assessments will be done on Long Island and all the other islands. In fact, assessments are set to begin in Mycal as early as tomorrow. I spoke with some residents there in Agua, in particular, who said that they're expecting Robert Caron to go there and carry out his own assessments. That is ahead of what the government will do, but understand assessments will be done. I hope that this lady is safe, that hopefully it doesn't flood because Long Island is prone to flooding, but that she is and her family can be safe and dry in her home tonight. Meanwhile, though, Long Island Chief Counsellor Ian Knowles is telling Eyewitness News that residents were not procrastinating following forecast reports and moved with urgency to protect their homes.
Yeah, all the necessary preparations were completed late yesterday afternoon. We brought all the persons to the shelters in the south this morning. All the drains being cleared. Right now we have light rain. There's about 40-mile-an-hour wind. But everybody's prepared. We've been through Hurricane Walken in 2015. And so most of the people learned their lessons. And then we had Hurricane Lily in the north several years before that. So Long Island's prepared as much as can be for this pending hurricane is about to pass us. We're prepared for it. We just pray to God that we don't get devastated on this pending storm. Now, there were some persons who left the island, but that's very minimal. But the good thing about some of the areas in Long Island, we have persons living on the south side, which is in low-lying areas. They have family members who live in higher grounds on the eastern foreshore. So, for the most part, like I said, we've been through hurricanes before. Persons are aware of what the damage can be done. So right now, it's just about protection of lives.
Floods before. I remember, a hurricane some years ago, maybe Matthew or something. Meanwhile, Knowles is confirming that shelters across the island are activated and ready to take on residents who are seeking safety. So, lady, I hope that perhaps you are watching, and if it gets worse there, that you feel uncomfortable, you can go to one of the shelters, as the island at this hour, we understand, is experiencing, as you saw in that video, strong winds and heavy rainfall. Well, I'm going to bring in the Hot Topics panel right now just to get a response on everything we have seen. Of course, we heard Jamaica had several deaths, damage to hospitals, damage to businesses, to homes, to roads, to seawalls. I mean, Jamaica, in fact, last night when we spoke with the Office of the Prime Minister and a state minister there, he talked about one area being cut off by a river that had overflowed. And so Jamaica has its hands full with getting everything. We saw Andrew Holness, Prime Minister, beginning assessments today. But of course, we are now talking about the rains and the winds in our area and seeing what's happening. I want to get your thoughts on it. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. Ellington Ferguson, Leslie Miller, and Howard Johnson. Gentlemen, good evening to all of you. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Good evening, Shanique. Good evening, Bahamas. Certainly it's a pleasure to be here once again to lend my voice.
You all saw what's happening. Leslie, you could look right here in the same camera right there.
Good.
Yes, you all saw what the conditions are. First of all, we're happy that Michael seems to be in the clear, even though they're experiencing winds and rains right now. But it's moved to the central Bahamas. Your thoughts on everything that's played out and how everything is happening right now?
Well, Shanique, our heart goes out to the people of Jamaica. We've seen some of the devastation that they have sustained during this Melissa hurricane. Thank God that for the last 2 days, I've heard that our brothers to the north, they have been collecting supplies and preparing to go down to Jamaica in the aftermath. And so help is going to come on the way, and our government has talked about helping wherever we can. The people of Michael, I thank God that we were spared basically the brunt of it. Thank God that after the mountains of Jamaica, of course it hit Jamaica as a Category 5, and it still fought its way through, came over to Cuba, and then it's dwindled down to Category 2. However, all precautions were taken. I think the government initiative, their gesture of evacuating was very good. However, I joined my sister Anita that I think it's time that we look at it differently now. I think we need to really look at how we develop, how we build on these islands, and we need to have proper hurricane shelter. I spoke to one of the councillors from Auckland's earlier this afternoon. Okay, they need hurricane shelter, a number of other things that they need, but these things we need to put in place that even if we have to supply them in whatever or however we, when people go in there, but we need to make sure that each island, because like she just suggests, the cost that it takes to airlift them and then to take them back again and to house them here in Nassau.
Properly built shelters on each island.
Exactly. And I think we need to do that. We need to look at these islands as we seek to cause for development to happen in these islands. But I'm glad that there's no loss of life at this point, and everybody's hunkered down. And again, I know of Anita, what she spoke about the hills. Mason Bay is a high point, and the Aucklands has many hilly areas. So again, we need to look at how we develop these settlements, where we build and how we build.
Good evening, Shanique. Good evening, Bahamas. Good evening, colleagues. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
absolutely.
We can.
Yes. I just want to say that I pray for safety and security of everyone that is still down there in those southern islands and central islands of the Bahamas. We know that it is a Category 2 hurricane, but still, it has to be taken seriously nonetheless. Now, I know that there were some logistical challenges with what was going on. Mr. Sargent said earlier today or yesterday, I believe, in a press conference that this was the largest pre-evacuation event in the history of the Bahamas. And anytime you are dealing with unpredictable and unprecedented weather, it's going to get really dicey, and there are going to be some logistical challenges. And so I know online there was a lot of political talk, a lot of activity, a lot of blame going around. The government of the Bahamas did its best to facilitate the evacuation, and I'm so glad that many people got out. I spoke to friends in Turks and Caicos and some of the southern islands of the Bahamas, Inagua, Crooked Island, who were left and who also are still there. And I believe that the government did its best under the circumstances. And I just want people to realize and understand, this isn't PLP, FNM, COI, or anything. It's the government of the Bahamas. Let's lend them our support. It doesn't matter if it's not your party. You give them your support. You try to work within the parameters of the challenges. And we just want people to remain safe. And so that's all I have to say. I just want people to remain safe. And I pray that everyone comes through this hurricane.
You know, I watched those winds haul over Jamaica. Before it hit Jamaica, it went up to 205 miles an hour. Hit Jamaica at 185 miles an hour. That was the second, probably the most devastating storm in the history of Jamaica. 77% of the electricity is off on the entire island. Some of the small islands around Jamaica is totally cut off. The infrastructure has been severely damaged. We were lucky, even in Long Island and some of our family islands that, not borders, but still a good distance away from Jamaica. Thank God for Cuba. Men had left Jamaica and went to Cuba. The mountains of Cuba is much greater than the mountains in Jamaica. I was able to sort of kill some of the force. I think the force in our family islands was no more than 50 miles an hour. But depending, like you saw on the structure of the homes there, you know, which is not as great as in New Providence and Grand Bahama, they could easily have been damaged. You know, and old people too have a right to be concerned about hurricane, because what you have to realize is not the wind, it's the water that does all the damage. And it's the water that kills people. Because people don't understand the gravity and the weight of water. Each gallon of water weighs 8.9 pounds. So imagine water flowing toward you, and you think it's just water, but it's not water. It's the tonnage of the water, and that force could really destroy you. So we were lucky, and I trust that this is the last major hurricane of the season, so they say. But we'll see. And that is, thank God that we have gotten through it unscathed, really.
Yes,
So
and
we
are
were lucky.
And
God is good.
Yeah,
I thank Him for it.
There's discussion on how these storms are now showing up. I mean, this is October, the end of October, and it's the way they're showing up. It's the fact that they're moving slower and the rest of it. So there is an argument for what's happening in the climate, but that's not tonight's show. I'll tell you this, though. Opposition leader Michael Pintard is criticizing the government's evacuation efforts that began on Monday until last night. For the residents in the Southeast Bahamas, officials from the Disaster Risk Management Authority say over 1,000 residents were evacuated from Maikal, but residents told Eyewitness News that the process was far from smooth, some mincing no words as they felt neglected during the exercise.
And they believe that more ought to have been done. It ought to have been better organized. And so we are going to, again, offer our help. We will visit the various shelters. We have been in contact with a number of the families. We were a bit distressed that some persons were unable to be evacuated. I heard the heart-wrenching voice note from the young man in Ragged Island. Had an opportunity to speak to a young lady, again, who had two senior grandparents, two senior citizens who were incapacitated. They were unable to walk, and so it is our hope that all of them were assisted so that they could easily get out of Acklins and Crooked Island.
Well, the leader of the opposition, Michael Pintard, says, listen, good. however, not good enough, because many people could not get out. They were elderly who were not accommodated as they perhaps could have been to make it a smooth operation for them. Your thoughts on what he's saying and the fact that he's like, listen, it can be, I guess, improved moving forward, this whole issue of evacuation.
No doubt whatever we do can be improved, but I think the whole criticism that more could have been done, it's easy to say more. I think
That's
everybody
for sure.
should come to the table and say,
sure.
well, how about we look at this, or why don't we look at it like this, or look at it that way, rather than just to say more. You're part of the government, and I think this is something, like somebody said earlier, this is neither PLP nor FNM, all hands on deck. I think the government attempted to help as much people as possible. I know my family in Acklands, they sent all of the wives and the children, and my brothers and cousins, they stayed and to kind of keep things down. I'm sure that there will always be something else that we could have done or that we should have looked at that we will overlook when it comes to these type of emergencies. But again, it's something for all of us to look at and see what more could we have done. Don't just say more.
Yes, and Shanique, I agree. I think that when we look at things like this, I don't like for them to be used as political footballs with anybody, whether it's PLP, FNM, or anyone else. And here's the reason why. I'm pretty sure that there are hundreds and thousands of people who would say to you tonight in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas that the Free National Movement government could have done more before, during, and after Dorian.
Absolutely.
That's for sure.
And see, if we keep saying these things,
and
now we can say it from the other end of the spectrum, right? That's not what we need to focus on.
Absolutely.
Political football arguments. We need to focus on the safety and security of our people first and foremost. And then what we have to do, any government, the FNM government after Dorian and the PLP government when this is passed, what are the teachable moments and what can we do better to learn from this particular catastrophe and do it better the next time we are faced with this challenge? That's what we have to do. Now, I saw very quickly that there were some challenges with some of the smaller islands and having those airports and those airstrips where certain aircraft in the partner network of the government or the DRM, they could not deploy down to these islands because they needed smaller aircraft. I'll tell you one thing about this, right? Some of those aircrafts, if I'm correct, came from the United States as well to help in that effort, correct?
Yes.
So now here's the thing. Those aircraft are the responsibility and are under the regulatory control and oversight of the Federal Aviation Administration, which is the FAA. See, you don't play games when it comes to them. Shanique, you know that I am also employed here in the United States for the Federal Reserve, in the Federal Reserve System. We operate in a system that is heavily rule-bound and regulated not only by multiple agencies, but also by the United States Congress. So when you see those planes in Nassau and you say there's only one flight that came down and they're not coming back, these pilots are not going to move. If the weather is creating a problem, they're not going to move. And then there are runways. These runways are short, and then there's something called grooved and ungrooved runways. Grooved runways are in developing countries where the water can flow down. I'm not a pilot now, but where the water can flow off. I know none of those runways are grooved runways in those family islands. There's going to get to a point where those pilots are not going to fly those planes because there's going to be governmental risk, reputational risk, and all kinds of other risks, and they cannot do that.
Howard, that is a part of what happened last evening, because after this show last night, I went and did my own research, still fighting for some people in Mayaguana, only to be told that the FAA issued strict instructions for them not to fly because they would have to fly through weather and fly on unlit, or land rather, on unlit runways that were not equipped with any bit of emergency response. So they were stopped, and that is why they had to resume this morning in daylight, but they could not do that last night because they were told by the FAA and also by the agencies around the National Hurricane Center that they are not to fly, and that is what took place. So you made a great point, Howard. You made a wonderful observation because that's exactly what took place. Listen, when we come back, we are going to take a look. Listen, Michael Pintard was all over the place today because what he also announced is, what y'all thought? We will be in Golden Isles in the by-election. We'll talk about that after the break.
He was pushed hard to do that.
We have to be mindful that as much as we want touristic development, what impacts the fisheries? Over coastal development, destruction of mangroves, overzealousness of the industry. We have a new movement called do-it-yourself fishing. That is anglers who come to the Bahamas, they don't engage in hiring a guide. Because of this approach, you are going to have people who are going to exhaust the resources.
This is an industry that's preserved. It should be for Bahamian guides only. We have the DIYs coming in here and they're destroying our flats.
We try not to overfish certain areas, so we'll fish a certain area and we'll back off for a while because we don't want the fish to feel too much pressure.
It's not just using the buzzwords of the environment and the ecology. The tourists can be educated that the more you support local ownership, people are doing it obviously the right way, the more the economic circulation in the communities.
I think the most critical thing is accountability, and that accountability by way of legislation, both the Act and regulations to govern fly fishing in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
I look at conservation efforts and the regulation that I've seen to protect the industry that's in the developed world. All of those jurisdictions have implemented strong regulation to protect their fisheries. We are way behind, but we do have a movement and a consciousness. We know where we need to be. Those are our resources, and we have to make an exerted effort to protect it because that's the only gift that we have been given. And if we don't protect that, then we lose everything.
Building the lodge, I understood clearly the mission to continue what my father started. From this lodge, it has served as the headquarters. We finally got legislation passed in 2016, and it legitimized the guiding profession. We pushed to get the program established into BAMSI in the training of the next generation of guides, but it extends way beyond that.
We need more Bahamians in the industry who are doing the research to provide the information to the industry, that is to fishermen and to everybody who benefits from the resources.
We don't know the resources in this country. We grew up just hearing about sun, sand, and sea.
It is going to be through education and awareness, whether it's within our schools, whether it's in our communities, to conserve the environment, that is going to sustain the fly fishing industry.
Well, the future of fly fishing in the company, I think fly fishing is a very, very unique spot. I think it's going to get better because the guides are now being all certified. They're all getting proper knowledge of handling and how to run the whole system.
If you're a youngster and you want to get into this, it's a job like any other job. You got to live it. You got to love it.
Young entrepreneurs coming in, you want that kind of interest. You want that kind of drive and desire. You want to carry that. You want to become the product.
So you want a space. But not just any space. You need something with a little more potential. So how about 1,000 square feet of room to play with? Superb audio and video production capability, digital LED wall, full lighting grid, and about 124 seats to accommodate a full studio audience with so many other features. Make us your home for your next concert, conference, and so much more. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. Here at ILTV Studios, we'd love to bring your next event to life. So what do you say? Do you want our space?
Beyond the Headlines is now introducing powerful TV advertising opportunities made just for you. Choose our television ad package, 20 30-second ads for $2,000 or 20 60-second ads for $2,500 plus VAT. Prefer flexibility? Go a la carte. Just $150 for a 30-second ad or $200 for a 60-second ad. Step into the spotlight with our interview package. 1 15-minute interview for $500 or 4 for $15 per month. or bring Beyond the Headlines directly to you with our live on location package, only $2,600 plus VAT. For more information, contact our sales agent at 242-466-6173.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. Opposition officials silencing the rumors. They say they're not backing down from an imminent by-election, despite previously expressing doubt on whether it should be held in the first place. This even after Prime Minister Davis announced that it would happen. Jose Etienne picks up the story from here.
The Free National Movement will be contesting the by-election in Golden Isles.
Let's go. A three-way political showdown now set for next month's by-election in the Golden Isles constituency after the Free National Movement broke its silence, quashing speculations that the opposition party was going to sit this one out, given its adamant demands for government to call a general election. But political commentators are asking this question: why now?
As far as I'm aware, nomination is on Friday. And so we are right on time, darling. Right on time, right on time.
The announcement comes days after FNM officials had boots on the ground with their candidate over the weekend. Perhaps a preliminary standoff between Brown and the governing PLP's Darren Pickstock, who also had government's backing in the community that now needs representation. But Pintard says what happened over the weekend is simply another page being torn out of the PLP's political playbook.
They've not undergirded the member of parliament they had in Golden Isles. And now, 30 days out from an election, they finally realize that there are some roads that need to be paved.
Political pundits assert that a by-election win is necessary for the FNM, arguing that otherwise, a loss could signal a fatal blow to Pintard's leadership after having lost a previous by-election. But the opposition leader isn't concerned about the political pressure.
We believe that we will be successful in the upcoming general election, and this is but one step in that direction. And so we'll be still standing after this by-election, and after the general election, the Free National Movement will be the government of the Bahamas.
Meanwhile, the FNM's candidate for the area seemed stirred up by the announcement, maintaining that his strong ties to the area makes him the better man for the job. But some are questioning his ability to win after losing the previous election. But he's leveraging his loss as a roadmap to victory.
They've beckoned the call for me to come, and I'm prepared to serve. Mr. Brown has kept his office open for the past 4 years, even after losing the last general election.
Now, a by-election for that battleground constituency is on the horizon amid talks that boundaries could be withdrawn to level out the voting field. The area's former member of parliament, Von Miller, was accused of failing to cover the entire constituency. To his defense, though, PLP insiders say it was quite an arduous task given the sprawling nature of that community. But Brown says there's no excuse.
Listen to me, I've worked it, so it's a challenge for them ones who just reached last month. Yes, sir. I've worked that already. Yes,
and so the countdown begins. Prime Minister Philip Davis insists that this by-election won't be a test on his leadership, although critics view it as a political barometer on the PLP's time in office. Jose Etienne, Eyewitness News.
Well, there you have it. Both sides making a very strong argument for who should win come November 24th. Gentlemen, as you look at that, as you listen to that story, as you saw Pintard's, he seemed exuberant, he seemed confident, he seemed sure of himself. As you listened to the leader of the opposition speak this evening, your thoughts on what roughly the next month or just shy of a month looks like for Brian Brown, for
Brian
Roll, and of course for Darren Pickstock.
Well, Shanique, this race is really shaping up. At one point, we was in doubt as to whether the Free National Movement was going to put their candidate for. We know that Brian Brown has been working the constituency. He never left the constituency. He kept his office open. So now that he is officially in the race, we have Roll, Brown, and Pickstock. It's shaping up to be very interesting. We see how enthused Brian was. We see the strength and energy coming from his leader, the Honorable Minister Michael Pintard. Also, we see the enthusiasm of Darren Pickstock. as he moved and as he spoke about what he intended to do in the Golden Isles constituency. And so Golden Isles constituency is a very peculiar constituency. And so now these voters over the next couple of weeks is going to have to be able to persuade these people. They're going to have to walk the ground, knock on every door. And at the end of the day, this is a very peculiar one, especially for Minister Michael Pintard and the Free National Movement, as it is a real test of where they are as it relates to this candidacy. It's a real test as to whether the Progressive Liberal Party still have the favor of the people. And so this can, for Minister Michael Pintard, this can be the beginning of the falling of the domino. Would it be that, or would the PLP be able to demonstrate, hey, we still got our strength, we're still strong, we're still holding on? COI, would they be able to make it then? Would they be able to demonstrate now what role they're going to play in the general election? All of that we're going to see play out in the coming weeks.
Nick, Mr. Brown
Howard,
spoke.
I'm wondering what's happening.
Sorry, I have a delay. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I know Mr. Brown spoke eloquently just now in that piece, saying and believing that he has the edge because he's been there for a long time, working the grounds with previous MPs and as the chairman of the F&M Association, and rightly so. That's the leg he has to stand on, and that's what he has to use. So I wish him well as he contests this by-election. Mr. Pickstock, while he is newer to the constituency, the young man, from what I saw on the weekend, is coming out of the blocks, and he is boots on the ground with his people, not taking any prisoners and not going to lay down and play dead, so to speak. So what I would say is, as a young man who ran in a constituency where I'm not from, some 10 years ago in the South Beach constituency, you have to do that. You have to get boots on the ground. Mm-hmm. You have to endear yourself to the people in the community. You have to try to get to know them. And in his case, Mr. Pickstock, he has a shorter period of time to do that. While Mr. Brown has the advantage, according to him, of being in the constituency for a longer period of time, Mr. Pickstock is making himself known and has the power of incumbency through the government, the governing PLP party. And so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens over the course of the next 30 days. And I'm just happy to be along with my box of buttery, toffee, crunch, and munch popcorn.
Well, you better add something else to that, because it's going to be quite engaging and entertaining. Leslie?
You know, it's interesting. They keep talking about Brown being in the constituency all the time. We did have a member of parliament in that constituency, you know, the late Warren Miller, who was also on the ground. The entire team of us was on the ground with him. And he was the MP for the area. He did a hell of a job in keeping the area sparkling clean in every facet of his constituency. It was cleaned up. In fact, the transition was taking place even before his untimely death, that we had decided we were going to sit with the PM and find out who the new candidate was supposed to be and work along with the new candidate. God had other plans for him, and he's not here. He's going to get a lot of sympathy votes, the new candidate. He's already been in many facets in the areas already. On the weekend, he went to about three or four different subdivisions. He's doing his job. And there's no doubt in my mind that the PLP is going to retain that seat in this upcoming by-election. Absolutely no doubt in my mind. No doubt whatsoever.
Well, while the Free National Movement says it is confident its candidate will be victorious in the Golden Isles by-election, the governing Progressive Liberal Party is making just the same case, strong, both sides voicing optimism ahead of the polls. Tilano Roca has this aspect.
The Free National Movement maintains it has the momentum to secure the Golden Isles seat. But PLP candidate Darren Pickstock is pushing back, saying that while his opponent, F&M candidate Ryan Brown, boasts of his presence in the community, he argues that presence has not translated into meaningful change for residents.
The opponent is making a case about how long he has been around Golden Isles and how long he has been in his party. But for all of the years my reluctant opponent claims he has been under his belt, he is yet to show us one iota, one scintilla of any change or transformation that he has led or caused to happen for the good people of Golden Isles and the Bahamian people.
The by-election, triggered by the passing of Von Miller, who represented Golden Isles and also served as Minister of Environment, Pickstock says he hopes to build on Miller's legacy and continue the work that was left unfinished, focusing on community development and environmental stewardship.
I will work to address your concerns about the roads, the bus service, the drainage, the bottleneck traffic, the safety and security, business opportunities, and the management of the wetlands and the surrounding environment in our community.
Inside the PLP camp, former Golden Isles MP Michael Halkitis says he's confident in Pickstock's ability to deliver for the people and to secure the seat for the party once again.
Feel very, very confident. He's a very energetic young man. He's worked together with me in the Senate over the last 4 years, always giving very thoughtful contributions, well-researched, working in numerous elections, serving in the Senate, and now taking that step. And he's eager to serve. He's on the ground. He's enthusiastic. I'm confident that he'll be successful. And of course, I'm doing everything I can to assist him in being successful.
Prime Minister and PLP leader Philip Davis also praising Pickstock's leadership as former chairman of the Bahamas Agricultural and Industrial Corporation, noting he believes Pickstock will be a hands-on, active Member of Parliament.
And he knows how to help small farmers, entrepreneurs, and young people find opportunity. He will be the representative for Golden Isles to serve. The one who shows up, answers the phone, fixes the road, the lights, and the park.
As the campaign intensifies, both parties are rallying supporters in Golden Isles, each confident they'll emerge victorious when the voters head to the polls. Delana Roker, Eyewitness News.
Well, Ellington, Leslie, and Howard, your response on what you saw there coming from the Pickstock camp.
Well, I could tell you, I passed the constituency several times, and I moved through a community. I listened to Senator Pickstock. Just a tremendous amount of energy that is coming from him. He's a well-oiled. There's a well-oiled machine down there in Golden Isles. I think they really, the Progressive Liberal Party and Senator Pickstock really wants this. They really is very tenacious in taking Golden Isles, and it remains to be seen whether he can get the people. He has the former Member of Parliament for Golden Isles, Senator Michael Halkitis, with him. And so, hey, the Prime Minister expressed great confidence in him. Let's see how it all plays out.
Yeah, Shanique, the Prime Minister is making the case that he's going all in. Him and his government and party are going all in with Senator Pickstock, and they want the young man to get the seat, and they want him to continue the great work that former PLP representatives have done in the area. And so everybody has to make their case. Just like I said earlier, Brian Brown wants to make his case, Mr. Pickstock has to make his case. But I do believe that one thing that's going to factor into here, Leslie and I said a couple shows ago, when Mr. Pintard, and I had to shake my head at my former party because Mr. Pintard injected some confusion into this race. And yes, I chuckled today when they announced that Brian Brown is indeed running. Well, what else was there to announce? There's a by-election. There are two major parties in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. You have to field your candidates. And the thing is, in the beginning, there was confusion because Mr. Pintard would not unequivocally state that Brian Brown was going to run.
Never called his name once.
Election.
Never called his name.
And I believe that is going to be an issue in this by-election. You inject the confusion, and we say it at the top of our lungs. You have to concern yourself with this by-election instead of the general election. And people were upset with me, people were upset with Leslie, but the fact remains, we are here today with the Free National Movement announcing that they are going to a by-election. And I think that was a missed opportunity, and we'll see how that will translate at the polls.
You know, it's interesting. It took the leader of opposition at the 11th hour to even call the young man name that he was going to be the candidate. Prior to this, he never called his name. He never said we were going to put Mr. Brown as our candidate election sits there. I understand that last night he was under heavy pressure from some of the top generals in the PLP, including the former Right Honorable Prime Minister. And he was pressured that you have to run, that you cannot insist that we have a full election. When there's a by-election that is on the move now, you must run. He was forced to move from his position and call the man name and have him as a candidate. That was forced upon him. He didn't want to do it because he wanted to wait for the general election, because if he loses this one, which is going to happen, there's a chance the fellas may attempt to take him out because he ain't going to be ready for the big one. And that was his problem. And it's still his problem. And that's why he said, very cautiously, he said, there's the other one coming up, which also shows a sign of weakness that he knows he's going to lose. But we'll see. I'm sure that the PLP is ready for the challenge. I guarantee that.
The man stepped up today, and the man said, listen, Brian Brown is the man that we are going with, and we will see what it is now. Brian Brown
will be the winner.
Listen, and Pick Stop, get your gloves. Brian Brown, get your gloves. Now it's time to go out there and let's see who the best man is. Listen, I thank you all very, very much. At the top of the night show, of course, Anita Pratt in Auckland talking about the storm and staying put, and figuring it was a good idea and the best idea for her and her family. Of course, in this segment, we talked about a little bit about the weather. But of course, here, the biggest story, the biggest story for the season, of course, you all know it, every 5 years, the general election. In this instance, a precursor to that, the by-election that's coming up next month. I thank you all very, very much. Ellington, Leslie, Howard, thank you as well. Also, a big thank you to all of you for tuning in this evening. Certainly enjoyed having you along and look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow evening. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a great evening, everybody.